Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie. I mentioned in my July TBR that I had a few books that I've started that I've never completed. Actually, I have many books like that, but in my slump last month, I dropped them and now I just cannot get myself to pick them back up and it's really pissing me off. The Turn of the Key, cult classic, and Our Crooked Hearts. Now, all of these I started and I really enjoyed them while I was reading them. So I thought I would document myself reading them so that it could be a little push to get me to finish them. I'm gonna try to get the audiobook for all of these. I have one already from my library, the other on Scribd. I'm gonna look for the other one, but I think that'll help me just to gain some momentum until my interest is peaked again. At the point where I stopped these two could be 5 stars. This one is looking more like a 4.5, but we'll see what the end results are. I'm afraid that because I took so long in between starting it and finishing it, hopefully, that my rating is going to go down, which is unfair of the book. I'm so sorry. And just to make this more challenging and less fun, I'm going to give myself a timeline. So between the 3 of these books, I still have 782 pages to finish. I'm gonna give myself 6 days to finish it, which means I have to read roughly 130 pages a day. Of course, the goal is to be so interested in the book that I forget that I have to read and that I will just finish it from pure enjoyment. So I'm going to start with Our Crooked Hearts because I am the farthest into this. I got to page 147 and I was really liking it. So this is about a mother and a daughter. The daughter's name is Ivy and we are in 2 perspectives, Ivy's perspective and her mom Donna's perspective. So we get Ivy as a teenager, I think she's like 16, and then Donna, we are getting her flashbacks from when she's like 17. And the best part about this is the witchy atmosphere. It's very much like a witch book. It feels very occult. And the opening scene is very interesting because we're in present time. Ivy is driving in a car with her douchebag boyfriend and they see this naked girl in the middle of the road. And so he swerves and they crash. And she wants to go see if this girl's all right. And she's like washing herself in the moonlight in some river. And she's laughing like maniacally. It sounded so creepy. So I want to figure out how these 2 timelines are going to converge. And I want to know what's going on. So it's kind of a mystery, but it's also like this mother-daughter relationship that I still don't really know what's going on. So I hope it really develops and it doesn't keep it totally separate. Because right now, Donna and Ivy seem totally separate. Not like they actually know each other, let alone are related to one another. Okay, so bad news. I don't really like one of the narrators in this book, or one of the, what's it called? The audiobook narrators. But the little bit that I did read had me intrigued again. I only read like 4 pages in their voice. So I also feel like this is so well written. There's some really good lines and really good imagery, but also, it's just like very pretty sounding. And so it is the kind that I just want to read so that I can possibly underline, or I don't know. I feel like I get more out of books when I physically read them. So at least for now, I'm going to continue just reading this physically. That's my update. Guys, I just finished with work. It is 9 p.m. I need to eat dinner and read my 130 pages. I so wish I read them this morning, but a challenge is a challenge, and I am challenged right now to speak, to read, to think. All right, guys, it's 11:30. I've finished, I think. This is where I started today. This is where I ended, page 279. So this is how many pages I read today. I might read a little bit more, but honestly, I've come to a point in the book, and I don't think it's just from being separated from it for a little bit, because the first, 40 pages that I read tonight, it felt exactly where I left off. And then there was something very big that happened, and I feel like the transition, it's like really muddled and it's not melding together the different parts of the story. It's hard to explain without explaining what's happening in the book. But honestly, there were a couple scary things that happened in here. Like, I'm in my house alone right now and I'm scared. I got really scared to go to my bedroom and grab my tripod. But then also after a certain point, there's a fine line between creepiness or scariness and silliness. And I feel like it got a little silly. And also, I'm not sure what's happening in the present tense in Ivy's point of view. There's like this weird love interest, like this side relationship happening that's really, I don't see the point of it. I feel like it's almost filler because we're going from the actual teenager, the daughter's point of view, and the mother's teenage point of view. And so for a minute there, all this stuff was happening in the mother's teenage view, but because we're going back and forth, it almost feels like the author had to fill in the daughter's teenage point of view with random shit to make it an even amount of shit. But it feels a little hollow, I guess might be a good word. I think the mother's story is definitely more interesting, although I'm finding myself more scared in the daughter's perspective. And then there was a part 2 just recently, over, I don't know, a third of the book, way through the book, and now there's another perspective. So I'm very curious as to what's going on here because there's still something that hasn't been said, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe this book is just biting off more than it can chew. I feel like there's too much going on, but at the same time, it's really fun to read. Guys, I just finished Our Crooked Hearts, and I did not, I mean, I guess I didn't mind how it ended, but it just felt like I really liked the pacing of probably the first half, and it was slow. It had build up. It was very moody and very creepy and scary and like a haunting. And then especially that last quarter of the book, it was just like, it was trying to have this really fast pace, and it just felt so unhinged, like someone running down a hill and then just falling. I feel like this book could have been 5 stars if it was shorter, if maybe there was more of a focus, because I feel like it was gearing towards one way and there was kind of a twist. All in all, I think if you like witch stuff and you find it fun, especially when like Halloween comes around, or if you are just in like a creepy witchy mood, I would definitely consider picking this up because it was fun to read. And I think it was very beautifully written, though I am nervous to go back in Melissa Albert's collection. She wrote the Hazelwood series, which I was definitely considering picking up, and now I just kind of want to see where she goes in the future, because I think I could really, really love something that this author writes. But this was not a 5-star. I'm trying to figure out if it's like a 3.5. The ending was kind of a 2.5, but I think my overall enjoyment of the atmosphere, and I don't know, there was just too much going on in here. So right now I'm gonna sit at 3. The last 50 pages, I was struggling to finish. I just wanted to be done. I wanted to be done with it, and now I am. So I feel good that I completed it. I'm interested in seeing what other people think about this. So if you've read this, please let me know your thoughts down below. And I'm probably gonna go on Goodreads now. However, I started on this page, I think it was 279, and I read to this page, 384. So that means of this book, I read this many pages. I think it's 105, which means I still need to read 25 pages of my next book. So before it gets any later, I need to complete that. I think I'm going to continue with Cult Classic by Sloane Crosley. Let me grab it because right now you're sitting on it. Ooh, please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall. You fell. Okay, this is the book. I feel like I've started a vlog of this like 3 times, so I don't remember if I've told you this in another video or not, but this is about a woman named Lola, and she is seeing all of her ex-boyfriends. At the point I stopped reading, I got to page 69. Just kidding, I got to page 68. But she had seen 2 ex-boyfriends in the same restaurant that she went to with her old boss, who is sort of like a mystical guru. I'm thinking he's kind of like a maybe witchy Gwyneth Paltrow type of person. I have really no idea what this book is going to be about. It's kind of very New York City-esque. So if you like New York City, it's very funnily written. Like, it's supposed to be commentary about people and relationships. There have been funny things about it, but also kind of sad things about it. It seems to also have like a flawed main character because she thinks she's like, I don't know, I get this feeling that she thinks she's like smarter than everyone else, but she can also think she's a total idiot at the same time. So I really have no idea what to expect from this. Before I even read it, I had imagined that this would be a 5-star read for me, mostly because it was published on my birthday. So I'll be right back after I read 25 more pages of this bad boy. Okay, I did finish the pages. However, I finished them this morning and I did nothing yesterday, so I failed. Please play a failure noise, future me. Now, now, now. But instead of giving up, I am going to pick this book back up and go forth. We're gonna add, maybe we'll just pretend yesterday didn't happen. This is officially day 3, right? So I ended on page 100. So we are going to read 130 pages today. To be fair, the book was kind of feeling a little boring. I think I'm in like a fantasy mood. So this contemporary kind of feeling was maybe just not what I wanted to be reading at the time. However, I think things are taking a turn right at the point where I stopped. So in this book, our main character Lola has now seen 3 ex-boyfriends, all in the same restaurant, or like just after being in this restaurant. And it's also sounding like her friend, as well as her old boss, are in on this weird non-coincidence. And so her friend has now brought her to this abandoned synagogue, and she's brought her into this like creepy sanctum room that needed a code in it. And there's like this very suave man there and a guy making espressos. And it's sounding like we're about to get some sort of explanation, or at least more intrigue and maybe some drama. Also, I did find the cult classic audiobook, and actually the author Sloane Crosley is narrating it. So that's pretty good. If you like authors narrating their own work, you should definitely check it out. Excellent news. My friend Meredith from Reading with Merb, who I will link down below, is doing reading sprints. She actually does them quite a bit, so if you're into them, you should definitely check it out. So now I have motivation to finish this effing challenge for the day. Hey guys, who is shocked that I only read about 50 pages yesterday? Not I. However, the good news is that I just finished the very next day this book, Cult Classic. I finished it by audio while I was working Don't Tell My Boss. This book infuriated me. There were several different points where I just had so many different emotions going over this, actually mostly 3. First, the preface or the prologue, it was one of my favorite prologues I've ever read, and I feel like it really gave you this sense of absurdity and also haunting, and also the promise of a mystery, a thrilling mystery, but one that is very artfully and beautifully crafted. But then the majority of this book, I hate to say it, it was a little boring. I got to the point yesterday where we find out that, of course, this isn't a coincidence that our main character is seeing all her ex-boyfriends. We get a sort of explanation. My issue was why? Why would anyone do this? Why do I care? Which I didn't. I had no cares. And it just felt like something that could be told very, maybe creepy. It could be more amusing. I feel like they were trying too hard to be funny and it wasn't that funny. This could also be just random and bizarre, and it just kind of fell flat. It was just like, I don't know. And then we got to a pretty big twist that I did not see coming, which I was very impressed by, at which point I became infuriated, which I can't talk about with you because it's a spoiler. However, our main character, who is unlikable, and I think that's the point, like, I think it's purposefully done. She wasn't even the person I was infuriated at. Actually, maybe she is, because of how she handled the twist. And then the end, which was an ending we saw in the very prologue, she says in the prologue that her old boss is dead now. And so we kind of figure out what happens to him. It was kind of anticlimactic. There were things in it I liked. I liked all of the societal commentary, especially on modern relationships and maybe about mind control and new age guru-ness. But I was bored, honestly. And I wonder how much of that is because I was, picking this up and putting it down so many times. And because I had assigned myself to read it like it was an assignment. But I really do just think maybe it wasn't my cup of tea. I just feel like with the kind of stuff they were talking about, cults, mind control, a girl seeing all her ex-boyfriends while engaged to another man, cool secret layers in synagogues. That sounds like so much more oomph could be in this, and it just, maybe, I don't know. Because I usually love slow-paced stuff. I like slice of life kind of feelings, but for some reason, I just, something in this, it just wasn't my favorite, which that's the point. Like, it was a fine book and I could see how some people would love it, but I was really expecting this for literally no reason other than it was published on my birthday and that I loved the prologue. I thought this was going to be 5 stars, and it's not. It's more like a 3, which is fine. Again, it means it was a good book, but I would rather have a book I loved. You know what I mean? So if any of that sounded interesting, or cults, mind control, modern relationships, it did feel kind of Sex and the City-like, because we have a sort of anti-hero as the main character navigating the city and navigating all her ex-relationships. She was more like a Carrie Miranda combo, but it was so weird because our main character was so unlikable, and she was very much aware of the fact that she had treated people poorly in the past and that she herself was not perfect, I guess is a easy way to say it. But at the same time, she was so judgy. But because she was pointing out the fact that she was judgy and she knew it, it almost was like telling us we needed to just accept her. But at the same time, just because someone acknowledges the fact that they're annoying doesn't make them any less annoying. Does that make sense? Now we're left with The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, which I was also expecting to be 5 stars. I'm a little nervous just because of the 3-star averageness of the books that I've read for this video so far. I only got to page 27 when I originally read it. This is a thriller about, and how it starts is really cool. So it's a series of started and never finished letters to someone named Mr. Wrexham, and they cut off, and then finally we get like a full letter. And the person writing these letters is a girl. I don't think we know her name yet, but she's writing to a barrister. I don't know what that is. I think it's like a judge maybe. And she's trying to get him to listen to her and how she's not guilty of this crime she's been committed of, and she is currently in prison. And I'm pretty sure she has been found guilty of murdering a child. And so now we're at the point on page 26 where we're getting a flashback of her explaining how she was hired as a nanny for a certain rich family. And I was so intrigued, which makes perfect sense why I just didn't ever read anymore. But the fact that this is in letter form is very, very much calling to me. It's very exciting to me because it creates a closeness to the narrator, and it makes it her point of view very open, but at the same time you're like, can we trust this bitch? I don't know. I am not going to say I'm gonna force myself to read 130 pages because I think that is just reverse psychology in me not completing anything. However, this challenge started on Saturday, and so with 6 days, including Saturday, I should have been done with all these books by Thursday, which is tomorrow. It's Wednesday. Are you confused? Basically, I have to finish this by tomorrow if I want to save face. So that's the goal. I do have the audiobook from my library. I'm gonna try it out when I get back to work. I'm on my lunch break right now. So we'll see how the audiobook is. And please cross your fingers at this point in the video that I can complete this challenge, even though I've already failed it by not sticking to the requirements set by me. Okay, first of all, this audiobook is excellent. She's British, so it brings a little je ne sais quoi, which is French. Sorry, I'm being annoying, but there are so many different ways that I could see this going, and that is very exciting. So I guess several nannies before our main character gets there have quit in quick succession. Apparently some people say that the house is haunted. So this could be a haunted story. However, we also just found out that the father or the husband or whatever, he's really into technology, and it's a smart house. So technology could come into it, actual ghost stuff could come into it, or maybe this is something like the people who own the house, the mom and the dad, are actually like kidnapping this woman. Because, I don't know, maybe I'm just being paranoid, because the mom, the wife, she is asking our main character questions that you would ask, like, where do you see yourself in a year? Do you have people tying you to London? What's your personal life like? And of course, those are questions that are totally reasonable. However, they're also questions that serial killers ask. They're looking for a vulnerable person who has no family ties, friends, like people that can go missing. So that would be interesting if they play with that. So I'm very excited. And the audiobook is, like I said, amazing. Not just her voice, but I feel like it's just a good audiobook. So yeah, more excited than I have been for the last two books, which I feel bad about. I was just thinking, God, I sound like such a Debbie Downer the last few days. But I think we're seeing a turn here. Okay guys, I'm done with work. I got to page 104 and wow, I got actually scared by something. So our main character is in her bedroom in the new house. She's hired as a nanny and she hears creaks, like floorboards. I went back and looked at it because I was like, I wonder if this would be as scary if I was reading it. There ain't no way in hell. Here it just says creak, creak, creak. This narrator is trying to scare me. She's like, I didn't even have my headphones in. I was just like playing it aloud. I cannot imagine. So I feel like if I keep reading tonight, it can only get scarier. So I feel like, oh, it's gonna be fun. I don't know why I like reading scary books, but I will watch a scary movie, but only if I have someone right there next to me. The only other thing that we've really found out is that the husband, the father of the house, is a complete asshole, and I hope we've seen the last of him, but I feel like there's no possible way that we have. And I'm getting this feeling of dread already, like some shit is gonna go down. And it's not even like that I know a kid is going to die or that she gets blamed for it. I am so scared that she is just going to do something stupid and cringy, which is, my priorities there are not making sense. But I hate it in books when there's someone who's employed by someone and then they do something and then they get in trouble for it. I don't know what that says about me, but it's too stressful. I can't deal with that. Murdering of children, I can deal with. Stressful job situations, no. Hey guys, it's the next day, the final day, hopefully, and I am on the equivalent of page 191. And my God, this is it's a weird book because it keeps you so interested and you want to know what's happening, and it's written very well and it's very engaging, but at the same time you want to put it down just because this is like one of those impossible situations where our main character, though clearly flawed, she's only human and she is looking bad. She is not looking good. She has so much going up against her: technology, these weird controlling parents, the creepy dad, these children that are, something's going on with them. A mysterious daughter we haven't seen yet, but I don't know. I feel like she's got to be a part of it. And then perhaps the supernatural element. So man, if I was her, I would literally call this mom up and be like, I'm out. First of all, I would have not taken this job as soon as I saw the extent of the technological house, this smart house, because this just happened where She woke up in the middle of the night, all the lights are turned on, blaringly bright, and there's this screaming happening. It's like music or maybe like heavy metal, I don't really know, throughout the whole house, and she couldn't get into her iPad because like her code had been changed, and so she literally couldn't do anything. I would have quit right then and there. I would have been like, yo, you better get your ass down here now. I am out. And of course, we already know how this ends. One of the girls is going to be dead and Rowan is going to be found guilty of it. It sucks. Like, there's no hope, really. I guess the hope would be that the person she's writing these letters to, first of all, I can't imagine someone would open this email or letter and even start reading it. Once they started reading it, I would just be too curious not to read the whole entirety of it, but good luck to Mr. Rexler, whoever she's trying to write to. I honestly can't wait to finish this, to know what was happening, but also to be done being stressed out. I don't usually like being stressed out in books, but this is like a pleasant stressed outness. I feel like it can only get worse from here. And it's so funny because like when you read these situations, you think like, what would you do in this case? If this were you, how would you have handled this? And honestly, there's no way. I guess it would just be to not have taken the job in the first place. But our girl Rowan, she ain't looking good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there was already sort of a twist that wasn't really explained. And then they just threw something out of like left field. Actually, the last twist was out of left field too. And this, what? Oh my gosh. Guys, I did it. I finished the book. Okay, so, wow. I was completely surprised by one of the twists, and it's one of the kind of twists where you kind of want to go and read it again, or like read certain points of it to be like, wait a minute. The final twist, which if you don't even like knowing about twists or how many there are, or like whether an ending's ambiguous or not, you might want to skip ahead, although this video is coming to a close very shortly. I will say that the last twist, although it's like I wanted that kind of resolution or that explanation, at the same time, I feel like it almost would have been cooler to make it a little more ambiguous. Like have that last thing, but then not really explain some of the other stuff so that you're wondering, wait, what's still what happened here? I don't know. There's like a fine line between satisfying a reader and then making them so creeped out even when the book is ended. But overall, I think this was excellent. I don't read much thriller, so it's probably easy to impress me in a thriller. However, I think this was very good. I'm giving it like a 4.5. The audiobook was absolutely amazing. I don't know what word I was about to say there, but it was amazing. And I really highly recommend it. Although I listened to this entirely while it was light out, so it might be even creepier in the dark, I can imagine. It was kind of slow paced, but I like that for this book. Overall, I finished in 6 days. I finished these 3 books. I'm proud that I finally finished them because I don't know, when I don't finish a book, obviously in the time that this vlog went up, I did post my other video where I still have like, I don't know, 18 other books that I started this year and didn't finish. It is very accomplished feeling when that is accomplished. I feel very productive, but there is a thing to be said for starting a book, losing interest, and then not picking it back up, because when you do, I feel like it did inhibit my pleasure in reading these 2 books. So I guess the point is, if you start a book, you better damn well finish it. I'm talking to myself. Obviously, every reader is different. So I'm wondering what your opinion is on that. If you start a book and you put it down for weeks, do you pick it back up or do you let it die in the dusty bookshelf? Thank you guys for watching. I will see you very soon, I'm sure, with my next month's TBR video. And I will be reading many more books that I've started. Hopefully they go a little better than a couple of these, but I did have fun, and thank you for joining me. Goodbye.